Legends of the Templars, Secrets and History of the Famous Order. During the First Crusades in the Middle East, the of Jerusalem and several other territories of the Western Crusaders, or Franks as they were called by the Arabs, emerged. The Franks, Western Knights, arrived in the Middle East and were followed by pilgrims. They came from Europe, and on their way, they were robbed and killed. Pilgrims suffered greatly from this. And so, a French knight named Hugh de Payens, along with his companions, appeared in Jerusalem at the court of King Baldwin II, and said to him, "Dear King, terrible things are happening to the pilgrims in general. We would like to guard the pilgrims on their entire journey to the Holy Land. We want to guard them completely free of charge. We don't need anything from you. We are filled with such a mission of service." King Baldwin was impressed by all this and gave all these knights a place to stay, which became the Temple of Solomon. It is for this reason that the Temple Knights were called Templars. In this way, the Templars appeared in the Holy Land. The Order of the Knights Templar received support and approval from the Roman Church, which contributed to its development and growth in influence. It began its development with a small group of knight monks and gradually became one of the most powerful orders in the Middle Ages. Thanks to donations and contributions from kings, nobility, and the faithful, the order had significant financial resources for increasing the number of its knights and commanderies. The Knights Templar actively expanded their territory, creating commanderies and fortifications not only in the Holy Land but also in many countries in Europe. Due to their military skills and tactical mastery, the Templars achieved many victories on the battlefield, giving them additional influence and respect among their contemporaries. The Order of the Knights Templar not only possessed extensive estates, but also governed their territories, taking on civil and military administration. Thus, the Knights Templar grew and strengthened their influence through the Church's support, financial power, military valor, and competent management of their possessions. The Statute of the Knights Templar, adopted at the foundation of the Order, included the following basic principles and norms. Members of the order pledged to renounce private property and live modestly, focusing on serving God and protecting Christian sanctuaries. The Templar Knights were obligated to ensure the safety and protection of pilgrim caravans and to participate in crusades. Members of the order were to strive for spiritual perfection, ascension, and prayer, prioritizing spiritual practice. Military training and strict discipline were key aspects of the statute, and members of the order were required to be prepared for service and obedience. One of the main vows that the Templar Knights took upon joining the order was a vow of chastity. This vow dictated that members of the order renounce family life, marital ties, and relationships, and dedicate themselves entirely to serving the order, faith, and the cause of defending Christianity. Violators of the statute were punished quite severely. They were whipped, expelled from the order, deprived of the right to wear a tunic with an embroidered cross. People who committed serious offenses were put on bread and water for several months or even for several years, chained in stocks to restrain their flesh and control their thoughts. The power of the order grew. The order engaged in trade, owned trading fleets and routes, and carried out banking operations, bringing additional income to the order. The Templar Knights had their own currency system and were among the first to use checks as a means of exchange. In the Middle Ages, they provided travelers and pilgrims with checks that could be exchanged for money in other commanderies of the order or partner points. These were precursors to modern checks that we use today. The Order of the Knights Templar made a significant contribution not only to military and religious history, but also to the financial sphere with their innovations, such as the use of checks. The Battles of the Knights Templar. The Order of the Knights Templar, as an outstanding knightly organization in the Middle Ages, took an active part in many well-known battles and campaigns during the time of the Crusades and other military conflicts. The Battle of Montgessard was one of the first major battles in which the Knights Templar participated. It took place in 1119 during the First Crusade. In this battle, a detachment of Templar Knights, under the command of the Grand Master of the Order, Godfrey of St. Omer, and other important leaders of the Crusaders, encountered Crimean Tatars on the Montgessard River. The Templar Knights offered fierce resistance to the attackers and were able to achieve a brilliant victory. The Battle of Montgessart showcased the resilience, skill, and valorous fighting of the Templar Knights in the early years of their service during the Crusades. The victory in this battle solidified the reputation and authority of the Knights Templar, contributing to their further growth and development in power and military might. The battle between the Templar Knights and Sultan Saladin, also known as Saladin, is one of the significant battles during the Third Crusade. It took place in 1187 at the Battle of Hattin in Palestine. Saladin, the great Muslim leader and ruler of Egypt and Syria, assembled a large army to confront the Crusaders. The Templar Knights, among other Crusaders, gathered a small army to protect the holy sites. During the Battle of Hattin, Saladin's forces proved to be much stronger and better organized than the Crusader army. Despite the desperate efforts of the Templar Knights and other Crusaders, the situation was dire, and the battle ended in defeat for the Crusaders. This defeat and the capture of many knights, including many Templars, dealt a devastating blow to the Crusader movement and led to the loss of control over the holy places and the complete defeat of the Crusaders in Palestine. The Kingdom of Acre was one of the largest and most significant cities of the Crusader kingdom in the Holy Land. It was part of the Livonian kingdom of the Crusaders and an important center in the Crusader movement. Acre was a strategically important port on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea and had strong defensive walls that made it impregnable to attackers. The city was also known for its ports and trade connections with Byzantium and other countries. The Crusader kingdom in Acre was one of the last Crusader states in the Holy Land and served as a crucial support for Christian Crusaders during the Crusades. Acre thrived with a Christian population and the city was a center of religious and cultural life for the Crusaders in the region. The fall of the Crusader kingdom in Acre occurred in 1291. The city of Acre, which was one of the last strongholds of the Crusaders in the region, was besieged for a long time by Muslim forces, particularly the Mamluks of Sultan al-Ashraf Khalil. After a prolonged siege and fierce battles for every street and district, Muslim forces finally took the city, ending the resistance of the Crusaders. The fall of Acre marked the effective end of the Crusader states in the Holy Land and paved the way for the establishment of Muslim rule in the region. The fall of the Crusader kingdom in Acre had significant consequences for European presence in the Holy Land and signaled the end of the era of the Crusades. Many surviving Crusaders were killed or captured and later ransomed, and many of them left their positions in the Levant, ending Christian control over this region. The last chapter of the Templars' history is connected with France. The downfall of the Templar order occurred at the beginning of the 14th century, and its history is linked to a series of events and circumstances. In the early 14th century, accusations of heresy and debauchery were leveled against the Knights Templar in Europe. These accusations led to the investigation and arrest of many Templars under the orders of the French King Philip IV. Under torture and pressure from King Philip IV, some Templar Knights confessed to heresy and other sins. However, many Templars denied the accusations and maintained their innocence. As a result of the investigation and pressure from the French king, the Templar order was disbanded by Pope Clement V in 1312. The order was dissolved, its property confiscated, and the knights were subjected to torture, imprisonment, or execution. Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Templar order, was executed during the trial of the order in 1314. Jacques de Molay was arrested in 1307 along with other prominent members of the order, and he was interrogated and tortured. Charges of heresy, Satanism, and other sins were brought against them during the investigation. After a long and complex legal process, Jacques de Molay and several other Templar knights were sentenced to death. On March 18, 1314, Jacques de Molay was burned at the stake on the Isle de la Cite in Paris. According to legend, before his execution, Jacques de Molay prophesied the deaths of King Philip IV and Pope Clement V within a year. The curse caused shock and excitement at the time, as both rulers did indeed die within the year. Some viewed it as a coincidence, while others saw it as a mysterious prophecy or a manifestation of supernatural forces. The end of chivalric Europe is a period in European history characterized by the decline and disappearance of chivalric orders and ideals of knighthood, including the Templar order. With the development of early capitalism and the emergence of nation-states, chivalric orders lost their influence and significance in European political and social life. Therefore, the end of chivalric Europe signifies not only the decline of chivalric orders but also a general change in the social, political, and cultural landscape of Europe by the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of the early modern period. However, the ideals and images of knighthood continue to live on in literature, art, and culture, retaining their appeal and significance to this day.